you. God damn you, YouTube. No. Fascinating. I don't know what's happening right now. You guys are going to have to give me a little feedback. It says there's 3 concurrent viewers. Okay. The stream's supposedly back. I don't know. Maybe someone will watch this back later and it'll make some amount of sense. The reason for all the confusion is I don't know how to depict this. But for some reason, the preview of my stream in the YouTube window is only showing the top 1/4 of the video feed. So it is showing, let's see, it is showing, I don't know how to get this. Let's see, it's showing from here to here, you know. So it's like, it's showing, yeah, it's a 1/4 of the screen. So it's only showing the top 1/4 of the screen, but when I played one of the feeds back, it was showing the whole frame. So for some reason, the preview in the YouTube Studio application only shows me the top left-hand corner of the frame. But tell me, you see the whole frame? Does it see the whole thing? All right. Well, then I'll transform this damn thing. How about that? I thought I would start in robot mode and then go to trailer mode and then go back to robot mode because that's how I'm going to display it. And you may as well see it in both directions. The first thing we're going to do is start removing the limbs from this thing. So this pops loose. There's like 2 tabs here. I don't know if you can see those. There you go. Please stop. So there's a tab there and there was a tab there. I don't know how the tab cracked off. I don't know if this other one breaks off, if it'll like not hold together anymore. But I mean, it holds together fairly well because you're kind of locking the back of the car into this thing. And so I don't know how important the tab's going to be long term, but the one tab broke somehow. So be careful with those tabs. This pops out. The main thing about putting this in is you need to make sure that the little combiner port that combines it with the other end of the car, you got to make sure that that's actually plugged into this little square peg right in the middle. Otherwise it'll be like all weird. So you do have to make sure that it plugs in tightly. And then you can lift it into position and clip it. But I guess I could have gone over that on the way back, but you pop that loose. This isn't too bad to separate. Bring them down here. The main problem is the combiner port is on like a little hinged armature. And so it has a tendency, I got lucky this time, but it has a tendency for this little combiner port. God, can I get light on anything? This little combiner port can kind of come loose a little bit. And, you know, it can be kind of hard to unplug this thing from the hole here. But there's a spring-loaded little guy there, and this thing just, you push up on it and you get the clip in the hole, vice versa. So, take that car off. This thing's so big, I gotta get some stuff out of the way. Give me just a second. God damn. Alright. Getting this arm on can be a little trickier because it's just... So we're going to start here. There's 2 gray spring-loaded bars, and I think they want to be closed. So you have to... Yeah, they want to be open. So when you peg this on, you have to like peg in the little peg in the hole that we can see there. But after you peg that in, then you have to kind of get these to pop, and you have to kind of squeeze them in, and you have to kind of play with it, and it's a pain in the ass. And I'm gonna have to put it back on later, so I'm just gonna leave it off for now. Just have to worry about it. The other half of this, so big. I find it's easier to just there we go. I find it's easier to separate the arm, separate this, and then fold the hand a little bit, and then fold the arm a little bit. because you need to get these two posts into the two holes on the back of that guy, and then you need to get this peg into this hole. So the easiest way to do that is to bend the arm up a little bit, get these two plugged in, and then get it to interface at the other end with this hole, and then just kind of reassemble the arm around it so that it just makes it easier to put it on, take it off. So we'll remove that. He also has robots on the back of his legs for no particularly good reason. These can be a real pain to get plugged in because they've helpfully given you like a post here. Let me see if I can. We'll go more into this when we go back to robot mode, but you know, there's a peg and it goes in the hole in the wheel. You know, but I mean, turning the wheel just so the hole lines up is a bit of a pain in the ass. But we stow these away. These stay out. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. Get these loose, and then once it's plugged in, sometimes it can be real plugged in. So just separating a little. I know I probably shouldn't use a pocket knife, but it's stiff enough to actually handle the joint. And part of the reason this guy ends up so top heavy is the motor master's tucked away in this back, not really contributing much to the overall aesthetic or design. But he combined, he's in there. I don't know. I realize this is a great way to get close to the cartoon material, but it doesn't make for, it's not very toyetic because none of the vehicles are really all that necessary. It is an interesting trailer that turns into a giant robot, but it's got kind of limited mileage. I really prefer like the way they did, MMC did their Combaticons, where it's like all built in and they're all contributing to the design. This thing can be a real pain in the ass to get in and out, especially considering how like flimsy the joint is here. People have had this, you know, they've had a joint relating to this break. So getting a grip on it, I like to extract this out of the cavity first so it's out of the way. But getting it in and out can be a real pain in the ass. And someone said, did you actually get that in without taking the chest apart? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, I had the thing standing on the turntable, and I went to put this guy in, and it was so difficult to put in, I thought I was just going to have a nervous breakdown, but I eventually got it in. I've gotten it in and out plenty of times while it's sitting in my lap, but the guy makes a good point. And so I'm going to amend my official instructions for this. You should totally take the side apart a little bit so that you can get at it better. So that's what we're going to do. So to take the side apart, first thing I'm going to do is kind of get the arms out of the way. And since I'm really just kind of extracting motor master, I'm going to just focus on that. But I mean, we could go ahead and transform the arms, I suppose. You know, we rotate them like this, and we slide it back. And an interruption from work. Fun. This is just a disaster. I should just do a video and then edit it and then present it. Bear with me for a second. All right, sorry about that. Who here has that thing? It's a good question. So getting this thing out is a little easier if we take the side off. And the side I like to take off is the side that's not all attached to the head. So I'm going to lift the head up. It's on an armature that I'll try to show you. I mean, you see it in the video. I'm going to go ahead and release this. This doesn't clip all the way. You might think it would, but it doesn't. And then we're going to turn this little tiny knob. And basically it has a stop. So when it's all the way like that, it's unlocked. And when you bring it all the way back around to the stop from the other side, you have to make sure it's plugged in, then it's like kind of at an angle, but the same bottom stop is preventing you from turning it further. But we're going to unlock it, and then you find that you can actually extract that. There's like a weird little peg. This thing's getting caught, so you have to lift it up. All right. We may as well collapse that while we're here. Jesus. All right, so arm, this thing's running into everything in my room. I'm sorry. There's this. Okay, I missed one. Okay, light, come from below then. I had this still plugged in, which is why I didn't want to go anywhere. We'll do it better on the other side. Anyway, I'm just trying to get this open. There's this. Flip it around. We'll focus more on these individual steps after we get Motor Master out. But you can flip this open a little bit, and it sure as shit does make it a little easier to manipulate the Motor Master figure. So I'm just trying to get in and get the cab. And you pull it up like this. The problem is they have like these little, it's hard to see them, but there's little indentations where the wheels of Motor Master are supposed to go. They're actually shaped like wheels. And the wheels do go there, but I mean, getting this thing to angle the wheels in and then jamming it in, I mean, I'll have to do it again anyway when we transform back to robot mode, so we'll get into that more then, but it's exciting. We can go ahead and close these out. They do need to be closed all the way in to like be able to transition the wheels through the base. That'll be clear later. We're just going to put them away. And then we'll kind of do the other side. Let's clean up the arms a little bit. See if I can get one visible while this thing runs into everything in my room. Knock shit off it. Alright, so we had rotated the arm and we had pulled it back. This flips untab. It doesn't tab much. It tabs just enough. You want to remember at some point before you get to trailer mode to flip this clip out. Because if you forget it, I mean, the trailer will still stitch together, but this does help it stitch together, and you'll kick yourself. So be sure this is just kind of out. This whole thing flips around. This isn't really part of it. Just, you know, it's just flipping around. And then you flip in this bit here. You flatten out the hand and fold the thumb in, and then the whole arm folds forward, and then the hand folds like that. And it'll constantly come discombobulated, but that's, you know, anytime something's not fitting, chances are the hand has gotten out of place. You just have to kind of check everything constantly. And then this bit just kind of hides over here. You do have to collapse it first, and then you can rotate it. Just don't collapse it all the way, it'll rub, and then you can collapse it the rest of the way. But it's supposed to hang down like that. So that's that. And then you flip this around to the back. You want to make sure you fold the part with the 90-degree thing first, and then fold the rest of this up. It doesn't really tab in that much, but it does. It's intended to be there, so that's the correct positioning. And then we want to make sure that we rotate the shoulder. You can rotate it as many times as you need to make clearance for things, but one thing we're trying to do right now is we're trying to rotate this arm like this, and as a consequence, if the arm's still down, then this thing can be rotated around to where it's supposed to be and recompressed. There's kind of a little sliding, this, you can see this pin never changes length, but you can slide up and down that shaft, and that's kind of part of it there. So, and then the arm is supposed to go in like this. I find it helps if you put it up a click, because something else later will go into place better if you don't have it all the way 90 degrees, you just want to bring it up one click. We'll get that click back later, you know. We're going to do the same thing over here, but I just wanted to pay a little more attention. You want to fold this down. So this port thing will get in the way if you don't. You unfold this bit here. There was that little flap that you flip. So it's up here and you flip it away. You fold the whole thing forward. You straighten the hand out and straighten the thumb out. It's going to be really hard to convey this in this setup, I'm afraid, because it's so big. I think there's an argument to be made that, like, you know, combiners don't have to be this big. I was really happy with, back in the day, the Fans Project had their Menasor, and then it looked like the same design team went over to Make Toys and made their 3 other combiners. And I thought they were great, and they were toyetic, and they were complicated, but they weren't so hard to manage physically, because this thing is big. I like to get this flipped around when it's still in chest mode, so we'll just go ahead and get that done real quick. So these are kind of like the treads instead. So we want to get this down so it's out of the way. Flip this. Okay, so we're doing the I gotta get this past first. So we're turning the little knob, and the premise here. Let's see if we can show it off. Oh yeah, there's this. If you forget it, then this isn't going anywhere. But this flips down. And the way this whole thing is held together, let's see if I can get this. There's a little rod here, and it's keyed. It has like a little tab on it. You can see the hole is keyed. It's a round hole with a key sticking out the bottom. And that goes all the way through. It goes through this and into the black part. And so the whole premise here is that this thing goes into that keyhole. You just get it lined up and put it all the way in. And then you can rotate that key so now it's locked. So if at some point you went to take it apart and you forgot that that's how it works, and you got all Hulk smash and pulled really hard on it, then I would imagine you'd break that little keyed rod. But we're just unlocking it and then flipping it open. And you do have to kind of something fell out. It's a clear plastic piece. I'm sure it's like one of the trim pieces somewhere. I'll find it. You do have to undo this abdominal, or this, flip it around and tuck it into position. The arm's in the way, of course, so we'll just get the arm out of the way. Now the arm's not in the way. We'll get one click up. Anyway, so the whole thing flips open when you get to that point. The other thing you need to do somewhere along here is to separate this plate, folded down and snapped pretty firmly onto the top of the hips there. And so I like to get something in there to like pop the, just trying to pop the 2 clips. You can see them here, maybe. You can't possibly see them there. This thing is so hard to manage. But there's, how would I show it? There's a clip, and there's a clip, and there's a clip hole, and there's a clip bar, and there's a clip bar. So you get the idea. At some point you have to rotate the hips around. Let's do it now. I don't know. Just make sure we don't put undue force on anything. But the hips do have to go around at some point. All right. So we're kind of flattening this whole thing out. This one joint here, let's get the camera further down so it's going to lay down so much. What we're going to do is this pops up. It was plugged into these like 2 slots and 2 holes, and then this kind of flattens out. It helps when this thing's still all discombobulated at some point to turn these over 180 degrees, so we'll take that opportunity right now. And then this joint has like a locking mechanism. So right now it's kind of locked in the roughly 90-degree angle. But if you push on this rod, it unlocks it. I think it's so he can kind of do an ab crunch, and the ab crunch just doesn't just wilt, you know, out of the way. When he's in robot mode, this is a bit like this, and when he's in vehicle mode, it's a bit like this, so it's just a translation bar. No big deal. Getting this through here is a real pain in the ass, so let's do it. These panels turn around. There's a hinge. They rotate all the way around for like the base mode. I care nothing for the base mode. And they can't really practically be used to get anything out of the way. So the key thing here is that we're just trying to get these up at like a 45-degree angle. We don't want them all the way up because shit will be in the way, and we don't want them all the way down because the kind of the bottoms of these plates will be in the way. So just a 45-degree angle. This was like this. So you see this is like the bumper, the, what do you call it, the license plate of the tractor, and you notice that it's inside at this point. So when we come out, when this comes out, we just need to make sure that it's out, and then we can translate the wheels through. So this whole thing kind of rotates around. And that's why the wheels had to be packed up like that to get through the holes in the floor. So now this is like this. Pain in the ass. You do have to flip out these anchoring tabs. They just kind of flip over, and they do help keep the back of the trailer straight. It doesn't seem like they tab in very hard, which is just as well. Like, why have it be a very difficult tab? But it does line things up a little better. And then we can start trying to put everything where it's supposed to be. I got to remember the feet are hanging off the back there, and if they start to slip off, then they'll pull the whole thing with it, and we don't want that. All right. This has to collapse. There we go. And, oh yeah, I haven't flipped the arm around yet. This whole thing goes. You can find that this will actually kind of get locked up. Like it won't seem to want to go, especially in this direction. And it's because if you fold the top joints first, or if you fold the, let me see. Yeah, if you manage to fold just the top joints first, it'll kind of get caught. So you want to make sure that you're folding kind of both. If you know, there's like two hinges in a row right here, hinge, hinge, and you just want to make sure they're both folding simultaneously. But for vehicle mode, we're trying to get it up like this. This kind of goes here, and it kind of tabs, but it kind of doesn't stay tabbed. So your mileage just might vary. This whole thing flips around, and we're just kind of bringing this all up together roughly where it needs to be. Except I haven't flipped this arm in yet. There we go. Now everything's a little closer. All right, so both arms, again, they're up a click instead of being fully 90 degrees. It helps. And the whole head thing just kind of goes in here. If you pack the head away real careful, you can probably get like one of the flatter cars in there. You can turn the head around to make a little better clearance. We can go ahead and do that. Just be careful you don't stress any other joints or the little antenna on the head in the process. But the antenna do kind of try to tuck in like into the tops of the arms. So you just have to be careful. The antenna are going to get scuffed up a little bit, probably. By far the hardest part of this is doing the upper body part of the trailer, but you can see like there are tabs and they do kind of click in, but they don't want to stay, and it's just going to pop apart anyway, so ignore it. You got other stuff to do, like the rest of the front of the trailer. See if we can get this turned around or something. So this whole thing, it's off camera of course, but no big deal. Who needed cameras or lights? There we go. This is getting a little better. All right, so the arms got discombobulated, of course, but this does lift up. And we do want to, this is a good sanity check to make sure these things are actually out. And we want to tab these together. And we're just trying to, and I mean the hands are, all the transformation joints for the arms are really loose, so they tend to just flop open, and it's not helpful. But you're just trying to kind of start to get that lined up. What you have to do with this is you need to put away the little post, good. It's on screen. And you do want to rotate this thing, kind of finagle it. It likes to get caught there, but you're trying to flip this over to the other side. This was a tab that it plugged onto. The hole is underneath the gray thing, but this folds in and it goes under here, which is why these are up a notch, because it actually has to go down into it like that. Now you can kind of finagle it anyway if you want to, but that's kind of like the cleanest way I could come up with to put those in place. And the hands will sag and it'll prevent you from being able to stick a car in, and maybe you'll have to go cry about it or something, but I don't care about sticking a car inside. Let's see if I can get this to be an on-screen moment, but I'm just getting this moved out of the way and over the top. That way I can fold this in, put the tab away, fold this towards the middle, make sure this is not binding, and then you can lower that arm, that one notch that captures that bit. So, we start putting this together. We put these tabs together. They go into holes here and here. So it's starting to square up. Again, this just kind of sits like that. So there's some angles for you and how it looks. This whole thing's just flopped open, no big deal. We'll get there. I've got another message, so I'm just going to take a little break and scream at the universe for a second. Bear with me. There's this lady that's calling in for support, and she won't answer her phone, but then she calls back and says, "Hey, can you help me?" Well, that was at 6:31. Well, that's irritating. If you want help, answer the phone when someone calls to help you, for God's sakes. It's not that hard. All right. So that's done. Around to the back here for a minute. Talk about stitching this together. If this wasn't in my way, I could see. All right. So these parts are here, and the head is here-ish. And the antennas are maybe not broken, who can say. The head was pretty poorly thought out part of this. They were like, head. If they just had made it detachable, I would have been fine with it. Like, oh, it parts forms the head, no big deal, no problem. Would have been perfectly happy with that result. These flip over. And this has to go here and here. Head goes up there. The antenna gets stuck on shit. These flip down and capture here. And this one captures here. And then I take a peek to see if this is the part that lost the little clear part. It's not. I don't know where this clear part goes. If anyone has any ideas. I wonder if it's off of Motor Master. You know? Oh, yeah, you're fun. You're a fun toy. Is it his windshield? No. Good Lord, I don't know what that is. It's going to go like in the bag of parts for them, and one day I'll realize what that is. If anyone has any ideas, you know, put it in the chat so I cannot see it because I'm too busy wrestling with this thing. But at long last, we have at least half the trailer, and the more difficult and annoying half of the trailer is kind of put together. It does help to get these in place, but it's not too bad. You just F with them until they turn around the right way. There we go. You lay this up. I find it helps. There's a tab here. It's got a little red paint rubbed off on it, but it goes in the red slot. But it kind of helps to tab that first, and then you kind of, oh, you got to make sure this is not caught. But you kind of, you tab it all at once, you know? I don't know. This came loose, so there we go. And then these tabs that help make clearance for the elbows later in robot mode. they need to come out. And for some reason, I can't seem to... There we go. There they are. There we go. Well, I just give up. I give up on life. Take another intermission while this sits here while I do something. God damn it. Had to be this week. This week I had to have like one of the most annoying, large, complicated, hard to manage. Okay, that's not the window I wanted. I wanted the other window. Yeah, that window. Can I have that window? Thank you. This will take a minute or two. Just talk amongst yourselves. I can't read any comments because I'm doing 15 things at once. Okay, continue. Log in. It's going to do a push, I'm sure. I do a push. And then I'll unlock my phone again, and I can't use my fucking fingerprint because I got gloves on, so that's just drawing. And we go, and I guess I'd like to log in. Thank you. Thank you for letting me log in. And then I'll go to users, I guess. And I want to switch to... Yeah. Okay. And then lockdown, yeah. PS kite. What can I do? I'll unlock the phone with a code again. My life. All right. There we go. Unlocked. Let's see if that works. Hey, you got me for another 20 seconds before I get interrupted. Man, I'm really dying to know if someone knew what that thing was. Catching up on comments, why not? IDW Menasor had an interesting design. In it, Motomaster's arms and legs broke off and became the feet and forearms. All right. Have I messed with the base mode? No. Never will. Don't care. I transformed it once into the base mode because that's what the instructions make you do. They make you transform it into the base mode, and then they show you how to get from base mode to robot mode. So I rolled my eyes and I went to base mode, but I don't care about base mode. Yeah, it has a base mode. I don't know. YouTube does the damnedest thing. Chubby Cupcake, you said, you didn't know that? Bless your innocent soul. And then they were like, well, we better hold this one back. So I had to prove that dark comment of yours, blessing someone's soul. For God's sakes. Yes, yeah, the head is definitely one of the dumbest things in the figure. Plus it flops around like it's not it's just like it's one of the worst examples. I criticize fans toys for having like little linkages. You know, like technically it's not a parts former. But in this case, I'd almost rather I'm tempted to just disassemble the head and then parts form it myself because I don't care. It's a pain in the ass. If anyone that has these figures can contemplate what this came off of. It fell out of the figure, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a leg? No. I don't know what this came off of, but it definitely fell out of this figure. No. So think about that. Think about that. If you have one that's already transformed into robot mode, this is probably visible. It's like a smoky, dark gray. It did kind of fall out of the torso, so like, is it part of this guy? I don't think so. I have no idea where it came from, but think about that for me, my droogs. All right, so this whole front is done. And now we're going to do legs, which are going to get easier and easier as this thing packs away into something sane. Just bring the camera up a little bit. The legs are pretty cool. I like the legs the most of any of the transformation design of this thing. The trailer will probably drag the whole thing off the table in a minute, but I do like to go ahead and put the hip skirts away when it starts to present itself. So that goes like that, and then these fold in and just out of the way. Okay. The legs. So I'm going to untab these a little bit. They're a lot easier to tab when they're facing. So tab and untab them at this point. That fell out of my hand. I can't hold on to things. Why would I be able to do that? You need to make sure you rotate this out so the hinge is towards the outside. I saw someone with like a broken, like the screw had come loose here. I don't see it as a problem, but you do have to be careful when you have a figure this big flopping around. But we do want to just get those to the outside, straighten up the thighs a little bit. We need to untab these, which can be challenging, but you can pull pretty hard on this part, but I wouldn't pull on this part, this little flange, because it's just a little guy. But this is pretty sturdy, so you can pull on that to get it untabbed. I'll flip it almost all the way around to see if I can get the other one. Good Lord. Okay. If I could handle the thing more and turn it around and stuff, but since it's stuck on this table, I'm resorting to high crimes and misdemeanors. But the thighs flip around. Now you find these are quite loose at this point, so I mean they are going in that direction, but let's go ahead and stow the rest of the thigh bits away. So this folds, and then this folds down. I just like to kind of get out of the way. This folds, and then this goes into position. It's the same thing over here. And then you square these away. So they're intended to be like that, and we're going to get there eventually as we get the different trailer parts sorted out. We'll go to this sort of top view. Get my light up. So these fold over, and there are little flaps that get out of the way as they do it, and you do have to kind of adjust the flaps later, but here's the flap. But it folds down, and this tab ends up going into the back of either of the colored arms. And it'll probably pop loose a lot, and you'll probably have to retab it a lot, but it's just a good idea generally. You can kind of clip these. They do clip. But it's a good idea generally to just keep it in mind that you do want those tabs engaged, and as they fall out, just keep putting them back in, because they are important later. But those are the legs. So it really starts to come together at this point. This part's a little tricky. You need to rotate this out of the way as much as you can. This part folds down, and then you start tabbing it in, but there is a hole in this that goes with the peg there. For some reason they went to the trouble of making it exactly the right shape for the, like the holes in the hubcaps of the vehicles. This can stay like this for now, it doesn't matter. But then this kind of rotates up to kind of cover it and keep it locked in place. This side doesn't really stay on its peg. It is what it is. Then on this side we do the same thing. We just want to make sure that this is clipped into the right spot so that that tab there can go into its correct spot. This is out of the way, and then we take the wheel and we plug it in. And I mean, it really likes to discombobulate, but you eventually get there as you keep re-tabbing things and fighting with it. And then to really seal in the bottom, we flip out this gate most of the way. We bring this over and tab this into its tab, and this gate actually kind of locks into there. We're just going to do the same thing with this side. I forgot to put this thing away, so I guess I'll put it away in a minute. and hope I am not too late to do it. I find that it helps to kind of force this down a little bit to get the tab to get started. But it does like to kind of, especially on this one side, it likes to kind of fight with it. But you can get it tabbed in. Let's hope I can put this away without it being a nightmare. Yeah, not too bad so far. And it really likes to. There we go. I got away with it. All right, I win. Tell me what I won. So this is all locked in. We do have to do the feet. Try to rearrange things so I can show you the feet. They rotate up. They rotate in this direction. It seems like they get caught there. Just blocking the light, but they get caught there a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. You flip out these bits 90 degrees. You flip these bits in, this one and this one. You collapse these, and then this thing can flip in, and really this thing ends up like this. I mean, it can fit in here, no problem, but it never really goes in there because it's meant to be the upright for the trailer. I got some schmutz on the feet. And then the foot goes away about like that. So we do the same thing to this other foot. We're just gonna sneak it around here. Obviously there could be better times to rotate the feet, but it's hard to remember which way they're supposed to go until it's kind of like there. So your mileage may vary. We're gonna flip these guys in. We're gonna smush the whole thing together. And you find that the feet actually lock together, which is nice. Lock that down, bring these over here. So there's the feet. It gets easier and easier from here. So assuming everything's still tabbed in the way it's supposed to be, and that the legs are still tabbed in where they're supposed to be, so I kept after that and they're still squared away, then we're in a good position to start bringing the top together. So this flips around like this. You can go ahead and put these tabs on, helps start getting things lined up properly. It helps to kind of pull it down and tab it. Then you fold the backs of the heels down. And they have to kind of slip in because this angled bit, try to point at it, this angled bit is trying to get under this plate. And of course the keystone here is trying to get above the plate. So you do have to kind of like finagle it so that it slides in and the keystone stays on top. But you can keystone it in. And then these are kind of hard to open, not impossible. They actually leave you a little tab here to open them. But it really is a lot easier if you leave these for last for the top of the trailer, because they actually lock in some tabs there. So putting this part away after you put this away is a real pain in the ass. So put this away and then put bring these two panels together. And then you got your you have to kind of extract this. I rotate that out of the way and get this out. But this whole thing, it kind of just stays flat while you raise the rest of it. So it's like ooh. But you line that up, you tab that in. There is a post here, and it goes in a hole there. So once you get it lined up successfully, and you have to kind of push and pull on the feet a little bit to line it up, but it really locks it together pretty well. So make sure you do get that post in the hole, so to speak. And then this goes up here. Again, we're going to home that post in that hole. There we go. And then the front of the trailer, just flipping this around, unfolding it. There's a tab to unfold there. This also has a peg that goes in a hole. And so just make sure you line that up. It can be a little challenging because everything's meant to be kind of, I don't know, tight. it's not terribly designed, although I'd be curious. I get the impression that they had a trailer. Because, I mean, this trailer came out like a year after the other stuff did. More. And so you have to wonder if maybe they had a complete design for the trailer originally, and then they decided, oh, we can't skip being in the 50 centimeter club. And so they just redesigned the whole thing. I'd be kind of curious, because the trailer ends up being a little too tall, a little too wide, and I don't know if it's a little too long, but obviously DX9 went a different way. They just made the trailer long. But it's a little too fat for the scale that it's supposed to fit. But that's the damned trailer. We'll catch up on comments for a minute. Give me a break for a minute. Yeah, it might be the abs. I'll have to look for it as I reassemble it into robot mode. I appreciate you thinking about it. Below the chest and above the waist. Okay, good. I'll look for that. I know what that part that folds up like this. I know what you're talking about. That's where it was. That makes sense. This is the best review of this trailer. I'm sorry. I'm sorry no one did any better. Well, there's not much to do but to turn around, I guess, check my messages. Let's see. That was at 6:31, so. Well, I did unlock it. That was the problem. Okay, so. We're going to go back to robot mode. Let's do it, gang. It's going to be awful. Although, I mean, packing the trailer together is kind of harder than packing the robot together in some ways. Because, I mean, you really have to get it all tabbed in. So, maybe this won't be as bad. Just remember the legs are at the front of the trailer. We're just going to pull this out of the way for now. Just pull it completely out of the way. And we'll do the whole thing, because I want it in robot mode anyway for my display, so I'm going to just do it while you're sitting here watching me do it. Bring the camera up. Hey, I'm like one of those reviewers that like lets it just wander out the top of the screen. This is really important that you do. But we're going to fold that. This rotates 180 degrees and folds, and it folds up kind of inside. And we're going to do the same thing over here. So we're going to fold down the tab, and we're going to flip this 180 degrees and fold this up. Okay. And then we're going to untab this. Sometimes it's a real tight tab, so sometimes I like to just pry it. I'm sorry, I'm using a metal tool. I'm bad. If I ever sell this, I'll have to be like, it has scratches. But I just kind of like let this rotate 180 as I pull this down. It felt elegant to me. And then this folds up, but unfortunately it has to be under the other thing, so at this point we have to kind of tuck it out of the way. And I find one of these will get caught on this thing, and so I just kind of mentally, I just try to make this a little more closer to 90 degrees. This one doesn't matter, but that's that side. And then we do the same thing over here. Get this out of the way, and we make this almost 90 degrees. All right. And now we're going to untab this thing. So we can pull on this. Let me bring the camera down a little. We can pull on this. So you can see it starts to come. Any sort of spudger you can also use to like pull the back of this flap a little bit. I have nothing thin enough, so I'm once again going to use the knife. But you see it pops apart pretty easily. Once that's open, it releases these two tabs. And then this thing can kind of finagle its way out. And you can unfold the heels. We can go ahead and do the feet, doesn't matter. I just like to fold them out to the side and raise the camera, and then slide these apart. Make sure that's out, because otherwise you won't be able to slide it apart. This slides apart, kind of. There we go. And then we flip out the things that make the feet even wider, and then we put these away. And that is one foot done. We just want to rotate it around the opposite direction, 180 degrees. it's ready to be part of a leg. Real team player, that foot. Flip those out. Slide it apart. Don't block your own light source when you're doing that. So it's slid apart all the way. And then we flip these out. You do have to kind of fold one joint before the other, it'll get caught. And you flip these in. And then we rotate the foot around. There we go. So now we got both feet. And now we get into kind of constructing the lower leg. So these untab these untab. And then these untab. And one important note with this lower leg is I can fold this over like this, but it is not folded properly yet. You need to make sure you compress this joint so it's like this. It'll kind of snap into position. But that's squared off, and it makes this thing, it makes it able to tab in later on when you go to tab it here. If it's too wide apart, then it won't tab properly. And then we can, I'll do this one real quick. This is the one where the big flange ends up here. So you just need to make sure that this is kind of out of the way so the flange can get into position okay. And again, we're going to compress this joint so it pops down. So it looks like that, right? Okay. Now we're going to lift this up, fold this open, and put this away. We'll do it on both sides. Not too bad. And then we're going to fold up. We need to release these locks that are in place. So we need to get that out of the way and pop that loose. And then the foot goes with it. So you notice the foot kind of rotates too with this whole thing. And this is just same as the other joint. You have to make sure it's popped flat. So that's one. And then this side doesn't really stick anyway. Pop the joint. See if you can see it. Flat. All right. Now that leg is out. And then we can bring them up like this. Remember these, you can see it right in front of the yellow there. There's just a little flap that covers up that gap. I don't feel like turning the whole thing around to show it. You saw it earlier. This flips up. It helps to flip this little guy up first. This flips up. This flips open. Send this guy the rest of the way. Flip that guy out. And then we're just trying to flip this around, and it locks the leg into a straight position instead of being a floppy hinge. And since we're up here, we may as well rotate this around like this, because this is the back of the leg. You know, where the car goes. Animators. And we tab that in, and we tab that in. And you wouldn't think it would hold together, but it surprisingly holds together pretty well. So that's what it is. We'll do this thing. We'll flip that up, flip that up, flip that out, flip this over, flip this up, flip this around, tab it in, rotate this. I'm just going to spread the leg a little bit so there's room to cohabitate. And we just want to make sure we tab these in completely. This one doesn't want to go. There we go. So that's them legs. We can F with the hip skirts anytime. They'll have a tendency to kind of put themselves back away, so I'm just going to leave them alone for now. And then the whole thing's kind of, you know, loosey-goosey. There's, you might notice, and especially the instructions kind of tell you about it, but there's these clips. These actually do kind of clip into other slots somewhere, but believe me, you don't want this. These you can't clip when it's in trailer mode. But trust me, you can engage these clips, but then that locks this bit there, and it's a lot harder to manage the whole thing without this being able to fall open. I'm going to make a quick note about the bottom while I'm thinking about it. This is dumb. There are flaps here that cover up these gaps that the wheels go through. And the only way to get to them is you have to flip these out. It's just like the video, but I'll just kind of show you on one side at least. And you have to flip this thing out of the way. And then there's just enough space if you kind of flex this for one of these flaps to go into position. Okay? One other thing you can do is to just never bother with that and never think about it again. And that's what I'm going to do. There are, however, when you have this flap closed, it prevents you from opening up this flap, which is a pain in the ass. Come on, buddy. Come on. Why do you hate me? But it trims out the back of the trailer a little bit. It is also another flap that I intend to never think about again, because I don't want to have to discombobulate this whole thing just to put those flaps away. It's kind of dumb. But these all this crap has to be put away in order for the wheels to fit through those little holes that you create by flipping those flaps. So do yourself a favor, flip the flaps once and just leave them like that. Doesn't matter, there's a little hole in the trailer. I also forgot to bring up the bumper. So there's a bumper, sorry. All right, so putting all this away. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hope it doesn't drag everything off my table, but I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this bit. I just like to park it backwards and the whole thing ends up like that. Okay. And then you can go ahead and flip this in and just never think about it again for the rest of the transformation. I do need to do the other side. It may not be on camera, and I'm sorry. This thing is the size of a walrus. There we go. All right. That's going to get stuck a lot. So the back of the trailer, we need to, of course, flip open this trailer. And we need to flip up the sides. And we need to start untabbing these bits. And the heads, you know, whatever. Get that stuff out of the way. One of these on me, this little L-shaped thing that catches the joint, is starting to show some stress fractures. But you do have to kind of go outward, you know. And when you engage it, you kind of start out and then bring it in. We're just untabbing all that stuff. Here's where we're gonna... Okay. Rock fell off the table. Here's where we're gonna lift these up to get them, and it's kind of hard to show you simultaneously. I'll try to flip the whole damn thing around. But... yeah, I guess I had to. But I want to move the arms up a little bit so that I can get this bit out and fold it out. And then this part comes over, but I don't know if I want to... yeah, we'll go ahead and do it now. But this comes over and it needs to flip around and tab. And now it's ready to go. It's ready to be part of the side. So do the same thing over here. We're just going to lift this up a notch. And now this can get loose. Flip it out, flip it over, block your own light. I don't care, I'm just trying to get this done. Tab it. And now that's ready for when we're ready. So we start flipping these out, we start flipping it off, and then you kind of get the head out and it, you know, kind of sort of goes somewhere, I guess. I don't know. Just get it out of the way. And then remember to keep all this at like an angle, not all the way up, not all the way down. But we want to start getting the wheels to pass through. And boy, oh boy, the head's going to flop in the way a lot. I forgot to untab these, so we're going to do that real quick. But you do have to untab these clips that kind of lock it together. Just put them in the floor. And now, I think, if the head will stay out of the way for a second, for a hot second, we start passing the wheels through that gap. It's a pain in the ass. And then this flips all the way around, like 180 degrees. But you see the bumper there, we're trying to get it to come up in front like that. I really tried to show that off in the video. This angle actually shows it a little better. But you're trying to flip them around and then bring that all the way there. Okay? All right. And then chest flap. So we're getting closer to getting the top stitched together properly. One thing we could go ahead and do is flip this down and stitch this. So this folds, and there's 2 tabs and 2 pins that need to go into place. So we're just getting that locked in. And that's it. That's locked in. We also want to fold this 90 degrees at some point, so let's do it now. There we go. Come on now. Yes, and it already locked again. What a fun thing. Since we have an opening, we need to rotate these around. It can be a real pain in the ass if you forget and don't do it till later. This whole thing needs to be out to the side. Just juggle 15 things at once. That's all you got to do. There we go. Out to the side. I would like to bend this if it'll let me. There we go. So that's 90 degrees now. And this came untabbed, but we can always tab it back in. That's the lesson. You can always tab it back in. All right. So we can go ahead and get the wheels out of the way because they'll be in the way. I don't know what they're for. I don't know why they exist. I've been tempted to just take them off. They're not used. I think they're kind of used for base mode, and I think that's a shame because they otherwise serve no purpose and shouldn't exist. So I will allow it if you choose to remove those false wheels and it's just dumb. I mean, it makes the wheel thicker in vehicle mode, and then later on you can get it out of the way, I guess, maybe. But boy, oh boy, is that a dumb... Come on. I'm just trying to get this stupid flap started. There we go. Because it's a lot easier to get all that crap out while it's still disassembled. Alright, I can flip over. This goes around. We just want to make sure that, remember, the hinges can get folded in the wrong sequence and it can kind of get stuck at 90 degrees. So you just want to make sure you're folding everything. And you want to make sure you get this turned around as soon as you have the chance and as soon as the head's out of the way for any reason. And I did all that off camera, so I'm sorry. Just make sure this rotates around, like almost 180 degrees. So the arm's still kind of there, and it's fine, whatever. Okay, so go ahead and lift up the arm, and I'm just going to kind of get it out of the way. The side with the head, I guess, is the side that I like to go ahead and stitch that side together first. Bring it around this way. Camera up, light up. But I am stitching this together. There's a little tab that you can actually see kind of poke through. There is this this little rod has to be lifted up. Remember I said it's keyed, so it's not a perfect cylinder. It's got like a little tab at the end of it. And you put that in the hole. And you rotate it, nearly 180 degrees. So you rotate this little thing. And then you can lock this oblique. Click. Very easy. And then it really starts to come together once you get it a little more structurally stable. But this, we can rotate the arm out of the way. I've already rotated this around so the arm's not in the way. So just rotate it up. This flips out. It rotates around, and then it kind of flits into position and it tabs in to the side here. So I'll show you. It just tabs in. And we do have to rotate the legs at some point, or the hips, so we'll just go ahead and do that now. And we want to lock this plate down. So this plate locks in. Remember I showed you there were 2 clips there. So. And this is like the very worst moment where you discover that you have to flip this around. So that's why I always talk about flipping these around before you get to this point. We do want to flip the arms around. I kind of show you what happens with the top, but I'm just flipping the arm around while I'm holding the top. And that way it's facing the right direction already by the time we get to here. And once you do that, the arms can be safely gotten out of the way, because the rest, it's actually in the way of all this stuff locking together. But I'm going to go ahead and flip out this little tab while I'm thinking about it. Sorry, I was talking about that one, that tab. And with this thing still kind of discombobulated, as someone pointed out, it's a lot easier to put in Motor Master. There is like this thing, you know, it actually goes onto a peg here, but the peg's not there yet because the side's open. So I guess we'll leave that up for now. Motor Master, I didn't really get into how you transform him, but you transform him so he's like this, you know, where you kind of put all the legs and stuff away already. But then the damn thing will fold in a place you didn't know it folded. I certainly didn't know, because we all know it'll fold like this way, right? It's got that weak little hinge that people worry about. But the son of a gun has a different joint, and I'm just having to hold this up by the ceiling to show it. But it helps to kind of hold both sides, but here's where I break it, you know. It's a really solid little joint at first. And then once it pops loose, it's like, oh, was that all the trouble? But the legs actually fold the other way. So, surprise. And then I like to put these skirts away. Then we just want to make sure the wheels are fairly straight, and now we're gonna start the gut-wrenching, tear-inducing process of jamming this stupid thing in here. And frankly, I think this thing would probably be more stable and stand on the shelf better if Motor Master wasn't adding all that weight to this thing. But we are trying to aim the wheels into those wheel wells while we have a chance. And then this, are they in the wells? Yeah. And then this ends up like this. The wheels actually end up like pigeon-toed. I don't know how I'm going to get the camera high enough to show that. I'm so high right now. Where is it? See, they end up kind of pigeon-toed. So that's kind of the part of the conceptual problem of like how to put this thing away is you keep thinking you want the wheels to be straight, but if the wheels are straight, they're going to run into this part. They're going to run in like here instead of here. And I think that's part of the reason it seems so hard. But I've gotten him in without unlocking the wheels, so it can happen. Or unlocking the side. But we're just going to put this whole thing together. Make sure that this is straight. And we're going to lock that in and rotate it around all the way. There we go. And then this oblique here locks. And we lower the camera because we want to show the other part. And then we bring this up and bring it around and bring it under, and that goes into place. And at this point, you're starting to get, you know, like a fairly stable robot. I'm sorry I forgot which of you said it, but you were right. This thing goes here. And surely it goes a particular way. Oh, maybe it goes this way. Nah, I don't know. I don't feel like that's right. Yeah, I think it goes this way. There we go. That's what popped off earlier. All right. And we'll take a look at the top here. We do eventually want to pop these things out, but there is a slider here. It helps you get purchase on this end of the operation. So that's what I'm grabbing when I do this. But basically, you're sliding this. If I can do both at once, it would be great. Let's just look at the top of it. There you go. You're trying to slide this over while you slide the front of it over. And you just want to make sure the thing is extended this way, because it slides on this rod here. So we're sliding and we're sliding. And then you have to kind of pick this open. That opens up like that. And then we do have to get this little armature for the arm plugged into the peg that it's supposed to be on. So we'll do that now while I'm thinking of it. And it's in the dark, so I can't even see myself to do it. Anyway, so this then compresses down. And this, if you will stop getting caught on the platform here, there's this flip, this little guy here, flips up and just kind of catches the bottom edge of that. It doesn't really clip in. I experimented with it, and you would destroy it if you tried to get it to clip in. It's actually angled and molded in such a way that it only just kind of catches that gently, ever so gently. But then you can flip these things out and fold them over, and they actually tab into the sides of the Motor Master bit. So this one, while it's still extended, we're not compressing it yet. We're sliding this open, sliding both ends of it. Only the back end is actually attached, but it'll get bound if you do it at an angle. Flip that open, compress this down. We can go ahead and flip this over and capture the Motor Master. There we go. And then, yeah, we got to get that tab again. I'll just bring them up. This got discombobulated, so he's not stable right now. Alright, and then we see that tab there? We'll flip that tab. I've beaten it up a little bit because it's hard to get it out without getting purchase on it with something sharp. But if you're more careful than me, you can be more careful than me. I don't generally see these like as a resale opportunity anyway, because I tend to get them because I like them. Getting this out can be kind of a pain in the ass. It's got these little doodads, like these little shapes to it, that actually bind up against the hip skirts and get in the way of the lift pulling it out. And then later on, they don't really add much structural integrity. So, like, what is the point of them? Nobody knows. I'm doing the same thing over here. Come here now. Okay. Flip out the hip skirt. Maybe do it without a tool. There we go. And that's that. So we're getting a lot closer to it being in a robot mode at this point. All right. We do have to lower the head down and kind of tab it and rotate it around if it'll let me. I think it will. I think it'll let me. There we go. I never figured out how to get the face off. I just got to the point where I was like, I don't care. It comes with a yelling face. I could touch on that real quick. Look, it's got an angry yelling... Oh, boy, you cannot see that at all. Let's see here. It's got an angry yelling face. Ah! But I could not figure out how to get that face off without just... I was just paranoid I was going to scratch it or break it, or I was like, nah, I don't care. We got to do the arms, so we're just kind of flipping everything outward. We flip this thing here. This flips around like there. You might recall that we need to finally put this tab away. And then this folds like this, and then like this to capture the tab. There's just a small tab here. There's a tab there and a tab hole there. But it does actually capture it pretty well, so it seems flimsy, but it's not. It's fine. This whole thing slides forward and then rotates, or rotates and slides forward. You can choose. I forgot to put this stupid thing away, so that's fun. I can cheat it, I think. So you feed it in, and then you just I kind of stand it up like that. Put the sides back together. But obviously there's a more opportune time, as the stop motion video shows, for putting that away. All right. We can do this arm. I'm not going to really tab the forearm together yet, because if you recall, it helps for it to be loose for you to get the vehicle in. But I am going to just kind of put everything where it's supposed to be. There we go. And just remember, this tab has to stand up to be ready for the arm. Yeah, all right. Okay. I think it'll be easier to put the leg vehicles on first. Yeah, I tried to. I'll probably play with it again. I think if I inserted a knife all the way behind his face, it would give me enough leverage to kind of pull it off, because the tab is obviously at the top edge of the face, and so you have to kind of like pull it off. I just didn't want to scratch it before I made a video of it. I was just trying to catch up on some of the comments, because the only people that care about this are the live people that actually come here. It is smaller than DX9's. It's a little fatter, like I said. Yeah, the way the legs fold up in this is really clever. The back end of this is definitely the clever part. It's probably the part that was easier for them to upscale when they changed designs. So they already had it kind of worked out smartly. I've never had such a big figure before, so is it annoying to constantly be holding such a heavy thing in the air to transform it into combined mode? I mean, I tend to do it in my lap. It's certainly annoying doing it right now here, because I have to kind of hold it. I have to reach around a camera and hold it at arm's length, and it's pretty annoying. But I have kind of an approach to holding it in my lap and keeping it under management. I have pre-ordered the Moon Studio train bots, and so I'm in on that. We're gonna see. If you push on the front hip skirts, it's easier to untab. Yeah. Waiting on Takara. The Masterpiece Tracks 2.0. That's crazy. The Masterpiece Tracks is fine for what it is. I'd rather they get around to doing jazz or something instead of 2.0ing everything. We are going to put the legs on first, or the leg bots. It's going to be easier if it's on the table here, but alright, that'll work. So we'll start with this guy. We'll start with the other guy. It's a real pain in the ass, because there's tabs here, and they're very specifically oriented to go in these holes. And so you have to line up the hole correctly with the tab. You do want this to be as far down as it'll go. They kind of work against each other, so this ends up. But this goes down as far as it can go, and then you just have to fiddle with it until you get the wheel rotated just so that the tab will actually go into the hole. It's a weird way to assemble these things. I mean, it would have been a lot easier to do it a lot of different ways, but whatever. So I got that one in. Now the trickier part is getting this rotated so this one will go in. I'm doing the bottom one. I don't know if you can see it. The whole thing's going to fall over while I try to do that, though. I don't usually try to hold it in this position while I'm trying to do this. It's a real pain in the ass, though, because you can't really see the tab at some point, and then you got to turn the wheel, but you don't have much leverage to turn the wheel anymore, and then the tab's not going in, and then you start to cry, and you start to weep uncontrollably. There we go. That's almost done. And then you have to kind of do the same thing with this, but at least now things are starting to get lined up a little better, so you can just kind of fart these into position. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. How? There you go. And then the bottom one. Come on. Come on. And rotate it just so. It's just not going to be rotated right, no matter what I do. Just they made it so you had to, like, it's specifically shaped. Oh, it just went in. Okay. So all you got to do is like lift the whole figure up for no reason. It'll just pop in. Pro tip. Now we're going to do the same thing with this guy, except this one doesn't seem as bad because it has, the peg tends to go more easily into the holes. It's not quite as bad. Got to figure out where this peg is and where the holes are. There we go. That's one. And then this lifts up. I think I got that on one shot. Woo! Check me out. Check me the hell out. Whoa. I'm like a genius. This one does not want to go. What a pain in the ass. I think it was impinging on the foot, but still it won't. All right, I'll try my lifting it up on the platform for no reason technique. May as well see what I'm doing. Just trying to get this stupid thing plugged in. It doesn't quite want to go. All right. There we go. I mean, it kind of plugged in. What a pain in the ass this is. I don't think it's very clever how they do this. And, for some reason, this is giving me more trouble than it's ever given me ever. Because it's a live stream. Of course it did. Anyway. So we got the legs on. La-di-da. All right. Just straighten them out a little bit. Raise up the camera a little bit. All right. So you got your front half of this guy. You recall that the tab, the little, you can hardly see it because it's washed out, but this little button tab goes into a hole right there. So we're going to line that up. We're going to kind of push in these gray tabs a little bit, and you just got to get the whole thing to pop like that. It might go a little further, but I'm not going to mess with it right now because I'm starting to get angry. And then this, we've left this all kind of discombobulated. Hello. So maybe we could have a light that's not like directly, but I left this kind of at an angle. So we can tab these on and then get this tab to line up with the hole there and then assemble the arm around it so that it's stable. There we go. And there you have it. The reason this flap folds in is to make clearance for the secondary elbow joint. So it does have two elbow joints, and that just fell right the hell off, so that's fun. That is fun, I tell you what. Tell you what. Fun. Come on, buddy. Just stay together for like 5 minutes. I'm almost free. All right, so we're doing the other one. This one pretty easy. It just spring loads in and pops. No problem. The other one, we do have to transform this part, but we're just loosening these, especially this flap. We loosen it a little bit so we can rotate this 180 degrees, lift the flaps out for this sort of false midsection of the car. Make sure that we plug the hole into the square peg here. There's a square peg right there. And so we line the whole thing up and make sure it pegs in. And then this lifts up and clips to that one remaining clip. And if that clip goes away, maybe it doesn't clip anymore. I don't know. And then I contact XTB and I say, hey guys, I need a whole new arm. Because you guys couldn't design a clip to survive. Yep! Alright. And then, oof. And then once again, he's done. I just want him to not fall off my desk as like the grand finale of the video. Like, grand finale falls off the desk and breaks. But he's huge. It's hard to get him lit and get him in camera simultaneously. You know, he's a big boy. You can't even really see his face. He's way up there. But that's him. That's the guy. Hope everyone's happy. Just took me an hour and a half to do that. That was fun. I don't know. MMC is going to be genius, and that's the one I'm getting. Yeah, he's big. They made a point of sizing him up to the 50 centimeter standard. So he is in inches. Looks like he's about 19 inches. To the tips of his little antennas, he's probably 20 inches tall. But they're trying to hit that 50 centimeter scale established by Zeta Toys. and Toy World. So he's a big boy, and he's really asking to fall over, so I'm going to put him down so he doesn't get hurt, if you don't mind. There we go. Now we'll just look at him like we're ants, and we're just looking up at him. He's giant. MMC is not just Fans Toys in disguise. Fans Toys has some sloppy engineering, people. MMC, I love their designs. They're very good. Fans Toys are perfect for people that really like the robot mode to look just so, and for the paint to be really nice, and for it to kind of turn into a car too, you know, kind of. They're parts formers with chains connecting the parts. It's not too unstable. If you had it in a display case, it wouldn't have too much of a problem. Like I said, if you take Motor Master out of the top of the body, it leaves him kind of hollow. But without that extra weight, he's actually a little more stable. He's a little less back heavy when you have Motor Master removed. So I might display him with Motor Master out. Maybe even transformed into Motor Master is my favorite. What was his name? Whatever XTB called him. But he was my favorite one, anyway, of the stuff. So that's it, gang. I've done my fill. Hopefully, this live stream's useful to somebody, some poor soul that didn't get the message from the stop motion. I do explain a few things about how to fold things and how to get things together. Gravestone, thank you. He's LOLing me. How dare you? But it's a cool figure. It's good. Is it worth the money? I don't know. Menasor is kind of like the ugliest of the combiners. It's the animators just kind of phoned it in, silly animators. But now I have one. I always have a soft spot for the Stunticons because I remember I used to bring them with me to school, and you know, obviously the original Stunticons, it took you like 2 minutes to transform the whole set, which is kind of nice. There's something to be said for that simplicity. But, you know, this thing's trying to be giant and hit the robot mode, so both checks checkmarked. Yeah, I got some Bakugan. I mean, they transform. They're cool. But this guy's not Bakugan. This guy is like a Hot Wheels, I forget what they call them, but it's a little car. And I think they had like whole play sets for these where it would roll around as a ball, and then something would hit the little button and it could turn into a car. But the other thing is a Bakugan. I like transforming things. Yeah, Superion's super awesome, and I'm hoping MMC gets around to making a Superion. So I don't see how MMC could make this using their all built-in methodology. It just doesn't seem... This is close to being all built-in, but it is parts formerish. This is pretty close to being all built-in, actually. It's not too bad. But, I don't know. I hope MMC skips bothering with that. MMC's doing Defensor next, and then hopefully they'll get around to doing a Superion. So I've been kind of holding out for a MMC Superion, which is why I haven't bought any Superions. I hope so. Thank you, Yolandre. Or Yoladra? Yoladra. Thanks for giving me hope. I'm glad there's a rumor that MMC is going to make a Superion, because they totally should. They'd make a really awesome all built-in Superion. That's the one to get. MMC Devastator, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to get a Devastator where the arms aren't some sort of just random part that you added on. That would be a challenge. The forearms, I mean. I think Toy World has already kind of nailed Devastator, so I don't need to see... I mean, I don't have a Toy World Devastator. Maybe I'll borrow one someday or something, but it would be a lot of shooting because it's like 6 robots plus the combination, so... Yeah, Zeta Superion's the one to have right now, but like I said, at this point, I'm not going to get a Zeta Superion because I'm holding out for an MMC Superion, so... Something to look forward to. Anyway, gang, longest live stream I've ever had. Had some interruptions. Sorry it's boring for people watching later. You can fast forward, I guess. There is, of course, my awkward sign-off where I don't know what to say. So I just kind of ramble about, like, have a nice week and have a good weekend. Yes, I'm interested in the Takara Seekers, just to answer your question, but I'm going to continue my awkward sign-off. I'm going to get Starscream. I'm not too enthusiastic about Thundercracker, but I'll probably have to get them at some point just to be complete about it. But I'll definitely get a Skywarp when they come out with it, because I love Skywarp. Skywarp's the one to have. Anyway, have a good night. Have a good tomorrow, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll see you Sunday. Sunday, I don't have them on hand at the moment. But right now on locals.com is my video for Zeta's version of Thrust called Pluto. That is already up. That'll come to YouTube on Sunday, so we can discuss that next Wednesday. And this Sunday, I'll be shooting I don't know what. There's a chance I might get an Optus Plexus in from Chosen Prime if it ships tomorrow. It might make it here for the weekend, so maybe I'll shoot that, or maybe I'll shoot the Blitzwing from Bumblebee movie, the Studio Series one. Someone mentioned that, and I'm like, that thing's okay. It's cool. I don't really have anything else to shoot until some stuff starts coming in. I've got Purple Potato on the way, and I've got, what's the other one? I've got the Mechanical Alliance Blitzwing on the way. But they're not here yet. Anyway, have a nice day. Have a good week.